do think that it looks exceptionally creepy tonight. Hi, guys.
Pretty good.
Did you set your stuff up?
What stuff? Tomorrow? Oh, it's ready to go.
Hold on.
I better drink this Shirley Temple so I can get on one, right?
Yeah, we'll wait.
What's up, folks?
Look at this. I'm gonna show this.
And
again, I'm totally not like trying to.
Sure you are.
No, I'm not trying to show off, but this is cool. So I have that card wallet on the back of my phone. That's where I keep it. So, because Sean's phone's all jacked up. Hey, Arlene. So I ordered the new phone and it finally came today. It's got a terabyte. So y'all don't act
a terabyte.
Don't act a fool because I will capture it.
That's right.
And I don't have to delete it.
She can like do like 8 streams at a time. It's like an iPhone 47.
And I don't have to delete it.
And you don't have to delete stuff.
So they've finally come up with a way where the back of the iPhone is magnetic, or the cases or something. I think it's the back of the phone is magnetic. Anyways, so instead of like the stick-on one, it's like this now, like that. And you can also use it to charge and stuff. Like if you have a charger that can go on to that. And now it's come far enough that it doesn't ruin your credit cards. I have not.
Remember Stewie used to say that?
Yeah.
I was like, Sean's with ATX. He's with a girl with good credit.
I have not turned it on yet because that's a whole thing because Sean gets super late. But I'm going to do it after the stream. We're going to make the big switch over because we have to mail his back. Anyway.
Presley says, hello, Sean and Mandy. Watching from the ER. Hubby not well.
Yeah, she said that earlier. His lungs are filling up again.
Ooh.
Keep me updated. I did find a case. I went to Verizon because I also had to get a black case for this one that's rose gold. Sean doesn't care, but to turn it black and so that it will have protection for it. So this one will go back because he has to talk to type everything now. The keys barely work. So,
but I do it better.
I'll get I'll get a text that says, I love you. I can't wait to come home. And he's like, yeah, I have to talk to text. So they're like, oh, how sweet.
Yeah, I'm sitting, or if they hear me
hey,
like
Levi.
At work or I'll be off somewhere else and I'll be like, blah, blah, blah. Jude. And they're like, what? Oh, yeah. I'm just, he's just telling Mandy he loves her.
It's pretty sweet. But yeah, Presley, definitely in our thoughts. Sawyer's front and center. So that's the iPhone update. I really didn't believe that it was on its way for many reasons, but it turns out it was.
She was just going to come in and yell at us at the post office just to have
like everybody else does.
Yeah. People come in all the time when their UPS package isn't there. And they're like, look at this. Here's my phone. And I'm like, I need to talk to a manager or somebody. So I'll come walking up or whatever. And it's like.
You can turn anyone into a manager if you have to.
Yeah. They'll be like, Sean, go talk to him.
Yeah.
So you don't
just
want the
pretend
postmaster?
You're the manager.
What about the postmaster? No. You're good at just go up and talk to him. Yes, ma'am. And they're like, this is my UPS. And it says that it's on the way. And I'm like, yeah, we are the USPS, not
Doesn't
UPS.
matter. Who cares?
Well, you can't help me? No, this is also from Gainesville coming out. We're Dawsonville. Well, I don't understand. You can't call? It'd be more effective if you called, ma'am.
He's like,
it's like when the press.
Let me change this. I'm going to share this, and then you got to put it back where it's supposed to be.
Yep.
Because I can't.
Guys, I must warn you, I'm drinking a Shirley Temple again tonight. Last time I drank one,
We're going to get into that bullshit that she said today, but
go gather all your friends because
wait for a few more people.
I'm going to tell you what's really going on over there.
It does kind of look creepy. I'm like, okay. So, hey, Neener. So, but I'm going to talk about Katie first. I was watching Katie this morning and then watched her a little bit while I was getting ready for the stream. Very sad. But also she seems to live in her own little world now. She has lost all of her real life friends and she's talking about how her gastric surgeon gave her permission to eat anything that she wants.
Hey, Toon Cat, I'm going to say hi while you're talking. Yeah.
She can eat whatever she wants because she currently weighs 144 and they need her to weigh 160.
Yes, she is.
She's drinking
drunk again.
She was already drinking this morning. She had the DTs going on and she was drinking. So you see,
yes, Lady Ray.
Anybody can be a manager when you need one. So anyways, then this afternoon, then I watched her this evening and she was talking a little bit about Real Stream News. And, oh, okay. And then, hey, Trash Panda. And then, but she was saying that about her gastric surgeon said, just to gain weight, you can eat whatever you want. No, the hell he didn't.
don't.
No, he didn't. And then
Why-
she
why
was
would
saying,
they?
she said she needs 20 pounds of skin removed from her midsection. No, you don't. It's not that.
But-
Maybe 20 pounds of skin between your arms, your legs, and your midsection.
And they wouldn't prescribe her Adderall because
Oh, they said they wouldn't, that she needs Adderall. She has ADHD, which I believe that probably is true, but they wouldn't prescribe it because it'll speed up her metabolism. And she already, no, the reason they won't is because every time they do a blood test, you have alcohol in your system. So they're not fooled by you. Alcoholics and addicts, they will not give Adderall. You just got to learn how to chase butterflies.
And the
'cause
thing
they're not gonna
is,
give it
and
to
the
you.
thing is, there's a gang of addicts and alcoholics and people that have, and we, you know, all of us that have wanted to get Adderall and can't anymore.
Yep.
It's because we're alcoholics and addicts in recovery.
I was like, I guarantee you, because she's got 7 bleeding ulcers. I'm trying to figure out.
It's up from 5.
It went from
yesterday.
5 to
Now it's
7. But where are the bleeding ulcers? They have to be in her intestines because her stomach is bypassed. So I'm trying to figure out where these 7 bleeding ulcers are. But anyway, it's sad. It's real sad. The irony of it all, let me tell you something funny about this. I named it that this morning when I scheduled it before this whole thing happened. And let me explain first what happened, and then I'll say that, and then you take it, okay?
Okay.
So this afternoon at 4:22, 8 minutes before Paula went live, the Beast comes on and she's driving and gets herself worked up as usual. Ironically, it was literally 8 minutes before Paula's stream, but whatever. Quickly, she started revealing all this stuff from her childhood. One of the things that she said is that she was SA'd by her uncle, the one that took his own life. So she took that road, and you heard her, whatever else she talked about. And I'll let Sean, then the irony of it is he knew exactly why she said it and exactly how it's bullshit. But that was one of the things that she said. And then, was that it? That was the main thing. The main thing. And she is, when MFW brought that up a long time ago, saying that she had made that claim and that's why her uncle took his own life, she had said that was not true. And she's always maintained that that was not true until today.
Well,
So,
but we got to make it, okay, so.
Let me tell you though, I knew I had to warn Sean because I honestly didn't know. I knew she had said it wasn't true, but I didn't know if it had happened or not. And that is one of those things that I don't get into with Sean because it's none of my business. If she shared with him that had happened from her uncle, I do not feel that it is any of my business. And you can believe me or not believe me, but is that not the truth?
Yeah, I mean, but
Anyway, so I warned him when he walked in the door.
so I'm working all day. I don't know any of this that she's describing because and Herschel Walker was right across the street.
Herschel Walker was there.
On
I was
his
gonna get me a
campaign
t-shirt.
on the trail.
I don't even.
Those of y'all that are keeping up with the Georgia, anybody from Georgia that's keeping up with the
It's getting
Senate
real.
run, Herschel Walker, who was a Heisman winning
And the
running
esophagus.
back
Okay.
for the, he's running against Raphael Warnock, who is who's the seat holder right now. Anyway, he was
Andy
across
was
the
there.
street.
You're right.
Yeah, so he was across the street doing his campaign or whatever. So it was kind of a busy day where I was at. But I walked through the door and Mandi says...
Well, it wasn't the first thing. It wasn't the first thing I said.
Well, but anyway, when, we greet ourselves, love you, and, we do
We
what
didn't do all
did.
that. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. We did. Go ahead.
But she... And I guess if I can remember it correctly, you said you were trying to figure out a way, but it really was no good way to warn me while I was at work.
I said I want you to know that what people may ask when we're live tonight.
That's right.
And I
That's
had a
right.
feeling that Sean was going to say, I'm not going to talk about that because I didn't know if it was true or not, but I figured if it was true, that was going to be one of the things that he said I won't discuss. But instead...
So Mandi says that Trisha was hysterical today, and she was talking about how her uncle... SA'd her. You all know what SA'd was in. So I sat there for a minute and I just said, she must be mad at her mother.
Who else did she trash?
Yeah, she must be mad at her mother or her grandmother or something, but she's probably mad at her mom.
Y'all.
That's the first thing I said. Is I stopped, I pondered it, and that's what came out of my mouth.
Said she's mad at her mom. That's why
I said she's probably mad at her mom.
Thank
and
you.
That's Mandy was like, oh my God, like
you said she revered her.
Yeah, because one thing that throughout my time with her is she loved her uncle. And I'll tell, Uncle Tom was his name.
Yes, did she? Mama didn't send money.
Loved the guy. Lost it. He lost his life by his own hand when she was 15. And I even knew where he lived because there's a little part of the end of Aquidneck Island in Rhode Island called Island Park. If any of y'all are familiar with that, it's right across the bridge from Fall River, where the real stream Creep lives. He lives in Fall River.
I was going to ask you that, where he lives.
Yeah, he lives right there. And so when Jessica and I got divorced, they moved to a little place in Island Park. So when we would go over to that area, back further in that same neighborhood is where her uncle lived, and where I think it's where he died as well. That's where
Is that where it was?
Yeah, I think so. But there was never, and I'm telling you, of all the years in this, that would have come up. That would have been something that at some point in some cycle or something about her pathology, that would have come up. And the only reason it wouldn't come up is, number one, because what she says is not true. But if she is in a fight or at odds with her mother, this is her brother, right?
Her mother's brother, yeah.
That she would do that because her mother was very close to her brother. That's why she would perpetrate or try to go that angle.
He called it like that.
I mean, it was
just like that.
I literally sat there and stared at the ground for a second and said, she's mad at her mom.
And
that's why that would happen.
Stitching, when she says mom didn't send money, that would be my guess. My guess would be that when she said she went all in and it didn't work, whatever money she was supposed to pay rent with here in a few days, she blew. And she's about to find herself without housing again. And she called her mom. The last time she called her mom, do you remember when her mom said no to giving her money, 6 months ago or so? And she said her mom beat her. And now when she says that she sat...
what she does. When she breaks up with Sean and she's mad at Sean
beat her.
I beat her up. Or she would say something that she thinks would get at me. That she would think that I would be sitting back and going, what? Why would you say that? This is what this is, people.
And the secondary purpose is a cash grab.
So, and all the other stuff that Mandy's saying and all that, what you guys talk about, is whatever. I mean, really, it's whatever to me. But that's why.
She said she lost her wallet. I forgot about that.
That's why. It's because she, for whatever reason, she's mad at her mom. That would be why she would go to this level.
And trash her grandmother too.
And she probably trashed her grandmother. Yeah.
Because
and there's a whole story I can tell you about that. The family, my former in-laws and stuff, without being super mean about it, there's a lot of weirdness in the family. And I always got along with Terry and Brent, my mother. And
there's some tam shit there.
But so when we were first all together there in Rhode Island, the grandmother was alive. Of course, the parents are alive, and we were all in the same town. And I met Grandma and got along great with her. She was a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan. So when I would go wearing my Brave stuff or whatever, we would talk about baseball and stuff. She had a lovely tapestry on the wall from Libya.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from Libya. There was times when the grandfather, he was an airman, I believe, and there's different times for the American, foreign policy in Libya back in the 50s.
That's very cool.
So we would talk about things like the Middle East, and we would talk about baseball, and everybody was pretty surprised at how well that I hit it off with her, because she was a fairly cold woman, like not cold like mean, but just very reclusive. It was like the only time that we were ever really allowed, that she was allowed in the house, is if I was with her.
You were the best thing that ever happened to
Right.
her.
Like the very first time that I met this woman was in the
Sawyer.
commissary at Newport Naval Base. And, you know, Trisha was like, this is my boyfriend, Sean. And she kind of looked me up and down, and I thought she didn't like me. And she goes, you know, seems like a good guy, or just something, and then kept it right on moving down the aisle. So anyway, I'm just painting a big picture here.
Hey, Pep's mom.
Because, and I'm doing this because I really, I don't go down this lane, you know, down memory lane very often, but it
Sawyer
pisses
Hill.
me off how she's treating her parents, and, you know, and slandering her family, her pathology notwithstanding, the narcissism notwithstanding. It's awful, you know, that. So anyway, this is why I'm doing this. So, they had a room at her grandmother's house. Now, I guess the uncle, I mean, Trisha was 15 or so when he died by suicide. And so that would be whatever, in the 80s probably when that happened. And so now fast forward to 2010,
Hey, Nelson.
and there is still a room maintained in the grandmother's house. His room is still there. There's a room, like a shrine to him. His clothes, his stuff. You know, we're talking, you know, 25 years later or whatever. So that was a little odd, right? That was a little odd. So a few years later, she dies. Her name was Ina, I think. So grandma dies, and the only people that are at the funeral, you know, as pallbearers, are me, my father-in-law, the two guys that I think dug the grave, and I think that might be it.
That was it.
That might be it. We carried and we had the little service and all that. So immediately, within like a week after she passed away, my mother and father-in-law moved into that house, and my mother-in-law, you know, is wearing her mother's clothes, and she has COPD, and she wasn't a smoker, but she found her mother's cigarettes. They were Salem's, and she'd smoke them. It was really that depth of grief and a connection that she had. She was close to her mother.
Kind of like Tam Tam.
Like a little bit like Tam Tam with her son in her son's room and stuff like that. So that's going on. And but that room, unless something else happened, that room was still there and as far as I know, because we went over there only once or about twice after the grandmother passed away, we were in there, and that room was still maintained for the uncle. It was still there. So, and there was never an ill word. Never an ill word. Now, I remember at one point, Katie, ironically, we were talking about her earlier, had mentioned that she thought that she had mentioned that Trisha's grandfather and uncle both killed themselves because Trisha's allegations against them. That's not true, because Trisha's grandfather died of cancer. So that was completely dismissed by me anyway, and a lot of the community when I said that. I don't know if y'all remember that.
Supposedly her childhood best friend emailed Katie and told her this.
Something like that. But the grandfather didn't die like that.
Hey, Miss
And
Christie. I see y'all.
Matter of fact, you know, I think that
Sorry.
that Trisha actually had a pretty good relationship with her grandfather.
That's what it seems like.
Her grandfather, 30 years, a military man, and it's really funny, not funny, haha, but I'm retired from the military and I work for the post office, and I believe he was 30 years in the Air Force and worked for the post office afterwards.
That's pretty cool.
So there's that.
Hey, Lisa, and anyone I missed, there was one question. Did her dad really disown her? She never talks about him.
I could never see Brent doing that. As a matter of fact, I think that I don't want to speculate too much on that, but Brent would always find a way to come see us if he could. Even with the estranged relationship with her mother, he was always able to find. She's a janitor on the naval base, so he was able to kind of come over and see us and this and that. But one thing was for sure is like Trisha wasn't even allowed to have his phone number. Mom never my mother-in-law didn't even allow Trisha to have his phone number. Nobody was allowed to have his phone number.
And that on the prank phone call, we saw that when she said, "I know where Daddy is.
Yeah.
Daddy's on the
So, as a matter of fact, when he was visiting us one time,
get out of there."
she called his phone, and when his phone rang, it was shocking to everybody because it never rang, and he jumped up like he'd been, electrocuted to answer the phone because it was my mother-in-law, and he better answer that phone. She freaked out and made him change his phone number when the 1-800 callers would call his phone from time to time.
She would think it was like a woman or something?
She just didn't care what it was. He'd change his phone number. So you guys can see that this was kind of a weirdness about it anyway. Even in its normality, that was kind of like the family dynamic. But it's pretty clear to me, Mandi filled me in a little bit, the reason she would go down that road and make such a horrible accusation is because she's mad at her mom. Because the rest of the family was very close to one another.
Do you think that's why she cut the stream and put it on private? Because sanity had returned at
I don't know. But it was
Sawyer, come here, baby.
The reason why we're explaining it here is because Mandi wanted to warn me if somebody reached out and asked, because sometimes they would, and also my words were like incredible because it was spot on that she had been fighting with her mother.
Yeah, she was trashing her mom too.
And slandering her grandmother, which my mother-in-law is very close to her mother. So that would be Trisha's way of digging back. I mean, Mom said no or whatever, however the conversation went. So she's going to hit where it hurts. She's going to hit where it's disgustingly.
He sat for a second. He goes, nah, she's mad at her mom.
Yeah. I would have thought that at some point in my relationship with her, that would have come up. Because a lot of the stuff that comes up, I'd heard before.
And
I'm
not saying I'm such a great person, but as far as like diagnoses that she may have, like I've never asked Sean. I mean, obviously when the cameras are off, have never asked him that. I don't ask any details about the pregnancy she supposedly terminated, and I wasn't going to ask about that because contrary to what she thinks, that is none of my business. If she told him as her husband that this had happened to her, then that's why I said, I'm warning you, they're going to ask. Totally fine for you to say you're not going to talk about it, whether it happened or not. And he was like, no, she loved her. No, she's mad at her mom probably. And I was like, oh my God, she is. That's the other person she was trashing.
Yeah,
that's what I would guess, Jeremy's mom. Paula, I would guess. I said, do you think she would have asked her mom for money?
That's probably a scenario that happened. Something like that. But
the way you described it to me, though, you said
it was
that if she gets history on it.
Now that when I'm out of the not bonded to trauma, and it was funny because there was a troll that came into one of our streams, or you can see it. I left it up, and she left 4 comments. First, they said that I was wrong about the trauma bond, and this and this and that, and then every comment I just answered with a laughing, then a crying, then I'm dead.
I never even saw it.
Yeah, it was today, but now that I'm outside of it and I can look at it, more objectively and not subjectively, this stuff's pretty obvious to me because I wrote part of this book, right? I was 10 years part of it, so it wasn't far-fetched to me. But I was even like, wow, she must really be mad at her mom right now to go there.
She's lost at this point. I was telling him about how she completely came unglued at about 1:00 in the morning about the death of this Leslie Jordan. And Sean goes, yeah, who is that? And I said, well, I guess he was on Will and Grace or whatever. And he was like, I said, but she was hysterical.
We never watched Will and Grace ever. Never was anything that was watched.
Probably what happened was she was up crying about her life, and she decided to flip it and turned it into a thing where she could.
Hey, Trash Raven.
This is her cycle. Her cycle is this. Yeah. She's like clockwork. And when she gets hysterical and starts crying, usually it's about the oppressed women of the world. So this was a little bit of a change about that. Hey, Booker.
Yeah, Paula, I know you just got here. You didn't see, but that was kind of like how we started it out. It was that's almost certainly about money. That's about the only thing that she would communicate with her mom about. that would go. She probably said, look, I need some cash or whatever. Mom said no. And I
Right.
could certainly see Terry, my mother, my ex-mother-in-law, saying that, no, we're not going to help you with that. And yeah. And then it would go wherever it went
I
from
wanted to
there.
make sure Lady Raiden has said some really kind things about how far we've come, you've come, and I wanted to make sure that you saw at least one
I
of them.
did see that, Lady Raiden, and I appreciate that.
I
There
like
was
to make
another
sure we
comment
see
that
it.
I don't know if you left a comment, and I saw that, when I was going through the comments today, or it was here, but thank you. I mean, it's
It's
not,
appreciated.
yes.
But you're right, Karen. She is disgusting. What a horrible thing to do to his memory, even though nobody believes her. You're right. Christina, who gave her all of that stuff and passed away, she barely gave it a passing notice. But this celebrity I can tell you right now, if I went to my psychiatrist and I was sobbing so hard about a celebrity passing that I was almost hyperventilating, my psychiatrist, who I went to for a very long time, would say, we need to adjust your meds. That's not how you react.
Well, Ricky said her best friend, Christina.
Remember when Christina Sapphire used to send her clothes and furniture?
Oh,
and
yeah, I
all
was
that?
about to say there was never a Christina
No,
in
she
Rhode
passed
Island
away.
or anything.
She wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
yeah.
I got it. Yeah.
So yeah, no one gets that hysterical. That's I really liked Robin Williams, and I really felt for him with his chemical dependency that he struggled with, and then certainly the way he lost his life. But I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, and I think I did cry because I had an AA meeting that night, and I did cry a little bit because I thought it was horrible.
But
he
this
lost his battle.
Leslie Jordan, and there's people putting other movies and other things.
Yeah,
that
I
he's
just
in.
didn't know who he was.
I didn't know who he was either.
And I don't. It was a very strange reaction. I have a feeling the crying and the cycling was already in motion, and then that was something to pin it on.
Oh, you mean the Robin Williams?
No, the Leslie.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing is with the Karen made me laugh too. The whole thing of her locked in her bedroom with her little black and white TV with her window to the world, where she watched, all of these. I don't know how she watched Pee-wee's Playhouse because that wasn't on PBS, and she said she didn't have cable. But this little, I'm like, dude, I'm only a year younger. Little bitty black and white TV. I mean, it paints a really pretty. I'm saying they did exist, but it paints a pretty picture.
But I would, I told y'all how she grew up, where she grew up, and she grew up in a ward. It was like so. Newport has a lot of affluence, like the Vanderbilts, Doris Duke. There's a whole street. It was a very affluent part of New England. And like Kennedy and Jackie O got married in the church right there in Newport. So there's a lot of money, but it's Ninth Ward. Fifth Ward is the one in New Orleans, right? So anyway, Ninth Ward is in Newport, and that's where all the working class stayed. That's where they lived, and they worked for all the wealth. So the ones that didn't live in there's just a street full, like a couple miles full of these old mansions, 1700s, 1800s, that most of them are museums now and stuff. I'm trying to remember that street.
No, I'm 10 years younger than Sean, but I'm only a year younger than her. I like to hold on, Michaela's having a rough time. I'm going to show her what we have.
Okay. So they lived there, and in that ward, and it was very modest. So I mean, a lot of where she lived and the places she lived, yeah, they were pretty shitty. But that doesn't mean you had to have a shitty life, yeah.
So,
I've seen it.
Michaela, I have to send it. I know you sent me your address on Facebook Messenger. I don't even have the app installed on my phone, so I got to check it. But I have your chocolate, so I'm gonna send that to you.
We have
she's
to wait
having
till
a rough
Friday.
time.
We're gonna get you chocolate, girl.
Yeah. And explain this to me. They got all this good stuff in there, and then they stick Almond Joy in there. Who the hell eats Almond Joy? I don't know anybody who eats Almond Joy. Well, now a bunch of people are going to say they eat it.
Yeah, so Flirtylicious said Ninth Ward is New Orleans, so it's Fifth Ward in Newport. You guys can type it in, Fifth Ward, Newport, Rhode Island, and there's some history behind it. Wow. So like in a lot of the 1800s, like Charles Dickens type stories, you've got the rich and then the poor live in, in the shanties and stuff like that. That's kind of like what Fifth Ward was in Newport.
Michaela, we're thinking of you. Did you read what she said? Her brother that's helping her, her sister-in-law said she either needs to go to assisted living or she's leaving or some.
Is it okay?
Anyway.
I tell them to go tell them to. No, I'll hold my tongue on that.
Yeah, well, you can tell whatever, but I mean, it's
can,
sad. It's sad what families do to their own family members. I tell Presley this, and I'm telling you this, Michaela. If I was closer, I would help you. The other thing is this. This is probably, we'll call this a personal appreciation for all the things that you've said about Sean and just in general being a total and complete, you know what? Girl, your dating catalog came to us, and no, you won't. I'm not gonna show that part. So, we got it. I know that they didn't put your picture in it, but right here is your ad, and I'm not gonna show it.
I know, I got it.
They didn't put your picture in it, but we got it. I don't want your address, but I just didn't want you to keep looking for it. There's another one. And you know what? You talk about how the black abyss you got between your legs needs something. Look at this, girl. Don't get much bigger than that. Huh? Stupid bitch. Okay. That was just a little thing.
I didn't want the address because the person whose that actually was like, I said, can we have that? And he was like, yeah. It's like, what do you?
That's just a little thank you for that. You like that? They didn't put her picture in it, I think, because it just wasn't good enough. But you know, the black hole is always looking for some eggplant. And that right there, girl, those are some good bulls.
So to wrap it up in a nice bow there, that was that's probably why that happened. And the reason why that I was eager to really tell you guys this is because I just think that's awful, to do because I said, they were a little weird, they're a little quirky, but they were my in-laws and they liked me. I mean, Lord knows. I mean, they thought maybe I was going to save everything, but, and that's just an awful thing to do, to make up something about your own, that I knew that she adored this guy, but again, everything's in, retrospect. They don't adore anybody. But anyway, you guys know what I'm getting at. And to go that low, there's no soul, there's no
It's
body. But I mean, there's no body, there's nothing that is out of bounds. And that's, so when I thought that, I was like, yeah, I can talk about that. Because it's worth it, because that's pretty bad.
Sean and I, especially Sean, YouTube hates this term. That's why Randy uses something. But people taking their own lives.
Black dragonfly.
That is something that both of us are like, I wouldn't say advocates, but both of us like have a real reverence for. And to pin that.
Yeah, I mean, anyone can just do anybody that's in the chat. If you were at odds, or you were just had an estranged relationship from somebody like your child or anything like that, or your mother, and they do something like that, they make up an atrocious, disgusting, that's slanderous, a lie like that, just because they know it would make you mad.
Yeah.
And just to put it into perspective, then you can understand why even, your parents have to estrange themselves from this. They have to. I mean, they're like there said, someone in the chat said they have to be in their 70s. They're about, I think, what did he say? They're about 12 years older than me. They're like mid 60s.
Oh, okay.
Because I think they were about in their early 20s when they had her, and I'm about 10 years older than her. So yeah, they're about in their mid 60s, and they just can't live your life like that.
It sounds like you would almost have to, but I kind of agree, and other people are saying she's lost.
I see you,
everything.
Ricky.
I saw that and I was like, that's pretty good. They seem to have liked the catalog. I do greatly regret that it did not come to your house. But
You were
we
taken
have
off the
it,
mailing list.
and
after,
I've got your honey peanut butter that Sean supposedly ate.
Yeah.
Your honey peanut butter and your bull catalog.
Your Tinder.
Since you're sending packages to
bovine Tinder.
Because she's a bovine beast.
I mean,
I do need to get another. I'm gonna get that crayon apple thing.
I'm like, look, guys.
You're drinking the Shirley Temple. I finished mine.
This is. I'm a sober person. I take Synthroid, for my thyroid, and that's it. I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke weed anymore. I don't take any VA prescribed meds anymore. It's just Synthroid. So when I drink a Shirley Temple, that's, what's it got in here? It's got 43 grams of sugar. I'm on one when I do that. So that's what you get.
I mean, it's definitely interesting. I was just preparing you because I was like, this is what people are going to probably be talking about.
You have to be sober to be with her.
Colleen.
Not for the, because I honor and respect her sobriety, but also you won't last. This one will wear you slap out. You got to be on your game. I'm gonna start running again, because I have to.
You're so funny. It's kind of true, but only a little bit. Only a little bit off. Yeah, but not much.
Not by much.
I think that a lot of people take Synthroids. It seems like everybody's metabolism is either too fast or too slow, and I guess the same medication treats both, right?
The one thing I worry about is if you take Synthroid for any amount of time, like sometimes they give it to people so this thyroid will kickstart a certain way or slow down a certain way or whatever. But if you take, it's like anything, if you take it enough, like Synthroid replaces what my thyroid would do. And the thyroid, it generates all your, what's the word? Like hormones and stuff. It's all kinds of when your thyroid shuts down, it's like running an engine with no fluid in it. And that's what the thyroid does. It regulates all kinds of stuff. People in the medical field, help me out. So when you take Synthroid to regulate your thyroid will stop altogether, like doing what it's supposed to. It's now relying on the medicine. So it's dangerous because if I was thinking about like Armageddon scenes or whatever, or if stuff got bad where everybody that's been on Synthroid for a long amount of time can't get Synthroid, we can't have the prescription filled. And I even think about something like when I was in the military and I'm deployed for a year and a half at some time. You still have to be able to get your medication, and it can really, after a certain amount of time, you can get sick if you don't have it.
I didn't know that.
So that's it, but that's the only medication that I'm on. So
I was always like really borderline with my thyroid. The first thing that you do when you go into rehab is that they do a blood test. And it always was like borderline where they were like, you could probably take it, but whatever. And I remember like, if you're not saying I need to take it, I don't want to take it. And now I think it's back in line. I always want to think that it's the reason why my metabolism sucks, but
levithyroxine, that's what I take, right? Isn't that what
mine
this
is? Hypo, me too. Hey, Texas girl.
That's what I take, right?
Levothyroxine, yes.
Yeah, it's the same stuff. Bubba. It's just called Synthroid. That's the generic term for it.
Like clockwork, you get 90 days at a time?
Yeah, I get 3 months at a time.
So at about 88 days, Sean's like, I only have 2 more days left. And I'm like, are you serious? Yeah. And I'm like, well, put in for the refill and they'll contact the doctor. And you better hope the doctor doesn't want to see you first.
It's about the 6th day without it. And it
only one time did you do that. But finally, he kept ignoring the doctor saying, come in and do your labs, come in and do your labs. So she was like, no, I'm not feeling it. And I was like, well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, hey, Viola, it regulates everything temperature.
Yes.
So is it, I think, did Mama Ricky say it's hubby's birthday?
Yes.
Happy birthday, Ricky's hubby.
Yeah. I have the honor of being Ricky's friend on Facebook. So I know her a little bit better than the average
Bear.
person. And it's interesting Facebook profile,
Is
to say
it?
the least, yeah.
People get too political on Facebook. I
Yeah.
can't hang with that. I had to keep it off my phone. I still have a Facebook, but I keep it off my phone. The other...
Everybody's saying happy birthday, Michael. You need to show them.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, so arthritis. Who suffers from it? Because apparently right now it's that season, and I've never had as much trouble with it as I have. I had like a broken bone that healed wrong. It doesn't really matter what, but in my hands I have arthritis, and it's really bad this year. And when I went to Walmart today, they had great big displays of Voltaren gel and Aspercream and everything. So I didn't know it was like there was a certain time of year it's worse.
Because my arthritis is in my feet because of my work. And I was thinking maybe I need to change shoes or whatever, but then I remembered it's the season.
You have RA. Let me tell you something. I even got those menthol infused copper gloves. Okay, so everybody's kind of feeling the pain. I bought the copper gloves that are infused but they had elastics, so they itched my wrist. And I also, laying down in bed, I felt like Mama Bear. I was like,
I came home and I went into the bathroom and I looked down on the,
I was desperate.
We have two, you guys saw our bathroom. We kind of have an L shape. We have a sink. It's kind of like an L, like it goes to the corner. So we each have our own sink.
Yes, you're right.
I look by her sink and I see these black gloves and I said, "Whoa, what sorcery is this?"
Sarah works. Okay.
I was like, black gloves? What are we doing here?
He was like, we're getting down with it.
I thought they were workout gloves for a second.
Karen, bless her heart, has it bad. And there's like a history of whatever, but she has it real bad. So I'm like, oh man, it hurts. And she sends me these pictures where she's had pins put in her fingers. And I'm like, felt really bad. I was like, well, shit, I'm so sorry. Like I didn't, but you got to know Karen. That's not why. She was just trying to say, yeah, you know what I mean? And Karen's story is interesting too. I didn't see what Peb said.
Shade plants cause inflammation, Stitching Girl says.
They do?
Do elaborate, because I have a lot of plants.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I have to, if I take an anti-inflammatory like Motrin or something, because of my gastric bypass, it hurts. It feels like there's cement in my stomach. So I take Tylenol, but I got to figure out a way to maybe get liquid. Maybe I could drink liquid kids Motrin. It's just hard on your stomach, I guess.
The Voltaren works good for me. It really does. I mean, that is...
Salon pasta. That's what Sean puts on his feet. Tomatoes are the worst. Potatoes, peppers, and eggplant. Stitching, what are you talking about?
Shade plants cause
arthritis?
Inflammation.
Oh, like
I get it now.
Eating them, not sitting under them. There's Andy.
Hey,
I don't
Andy.
want to take the stream. It's okay. Sean, yes. Andy was in there today. He was like, he's super cool.
Thanks, cuz. No, if you do review it later, Andy, I debunked one of the things that she was perpetuating today, because she was going after her mom and dad, who I had a good relationship with them when they were my in-laws.
And the memory of one of her uncles. She slandered that with her atrocities. So I just kind of debunked some of that. So that's what you missed. I have had that diclofenac. That works better. I've had that before. Sometimes I haven't done it in a while. For a while I was rubbing the Voltaren into your feet, and you said that helped.
Yeah, I mean, the Voltaren gel works for me, like for my feet. And when I first started working at the post office and before I was in shape, my feet killed me. And so we started doing that.
We would be laying down and all the lights would be off, and you'd be like, my feet hurt. I'm like, do you want me to put the Voltaren gel on them? You don't have to. Sean, do you want me to?
My queen would rise out of bed.
I said, do you want me to? Yes.
Midnight and go get the Voltaren gel and rub it on my feet. I always do that too
if he's got a busy day, especially on Sundays. I'm like, do you want me to bring you something to eat for lunch? You don't have to. Do you want me to? Yeah. I'm like, just say yes. Just say yes. That's all you got to say. Right?
Yep.
I do too.
But I just never had anybody dote on me like that.
Today we met up at a mailbox.
Yes. Oh, so
outside of Walmart.
Today I was in the 2-ton truck.
We're gonna christen that truck someday.
I know one day I'm gonna drag right in the back. It's like a UPS truck, but it's the white mail truck. And I think right now at our office, I'm the only one that drives it of all the carriers.
It's
and this
got
and
air
that.
conditioning.
It's and it's not what I do. It's just they're like, will somebody go do this and take the truck? So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. If you have a license, and I was in the Army 23 years, I can drive a truck. So anyway, I stopped and I'm at one stop and I'm texting with Mandi. She's in Walmart, and I said, I'll be outside the Walmart blue box in about 10 minutes. And sure enough, I pull up to the blue box and there's my baby waiting in the Kia.
I returned the gloves.
Yeah. And
so he was emptying that mailbox. He's the jack of all trades right now because they have no one working there.
Yeah.
And
sometimes
I took him the body armor. Is it called body armor?
Yeah.
He likes the strawberry banana, but they didn't have it. They only had the mango. Did you drink it?
Yeah, it's gone.
Is it good?
It's not as good as the banana strawberry, but it's the second
and
best
beef
one.
jerky. Like
so
Black
imagine
Bigelow
this.
said.
Imagine you're just
Yes.
Outside of Walmart, and you see the big mail truck pull up, and then all of a sudden you see a car pull up, and this gorgeous gal gets out there, and the mail guy gets down out of there, and they hug and all that, and she, it's like, ooh, secret rendezvous. But that's kind of
we are gonna, Andy, close your ears. We are gonna someday christen that truck. We only need 41 and a half seconds, right? 42 to be.
Well,
Sean is you talk like a big game, but he gets so nervous.
We have to talk about this. So guys are like, we try to act like we're this and that, and it's kind of a double standard. But Mandi's the one that'll be like,
we were in the hot tub at the Crown Plaza, and I was like, nobody's gonna know what we're doing, and he's like,
it's outside. There's a hotel.
And I was like, are you freaking serious? And he goes, yeah. And he was I was like, oh.
Yeah. Mandi was an animal. She was like, I want to do it right now, right here. And I was like, okay. And she's like, you're nervous? And I'm like, I'm not nervous. She's like, oh, it's so sweet.
I said, the sides are high, and you know how it is, and it's dark. There's no lights in it. I said, nobody's going to know. People will just think I'm sitting on your lap. And he was I was like, okay, well, then let's go inside.
Yes.
That was how that worked.
So now the idea is that one of these days I'm going to meet her in the truck, and we're going to go in the back of the truck. Because it's just, like I said, it's like a great big UPS truck, but it's a mail truck. And typically when I drive it, it's not full of packages. I just have to go pick up a few things. But I would rather drive the 2-ton truck because the steering wheel is on this, on the left side where it's supposed to be.
Hey, Megan, they're still stuck on the hot tub. You're like explaining how this.
Well, they'll catch up. With those regular small little mail trucks, they put the steering wheel on the wrong side. So I'm always drifting over the center lane when I'm in those. So I always take the big truck because at least or I take my truck.
I get the 23 years now. They were like, 23 years you had said that. I was like thinking someone said they were married for 23 years.
Oh.
Yet now, let me tell you something. Role playing is extremely fun, but I'm too, there's certain things that I'm yeah, I know.
It's
hard for me to talk really dirty. Yeah. I
get her too, but it's like normally it's just like, what's happening? What's going on?
See,
why are your eyes rolling in the back of your head?
That's why we need to have
she's like, stop.
Membership streams. And remember, Andy says I loved visiting Sean.
Yeah. So my cousin Andy, that's always on here all the time.
Like,
this goes way back to the teenage years.
He said it one time on the
thing. Yeah, he always got lucky when he visited Atlanta and visited us. And he was young. He was 17 or whatever. He'd be like, "Where's Andy?" Oh, he.
Oh my! If his mom knew that, she'd have been like.
I think we told her. I think we alluded to that when we were at the beach.
Everyone is. Other people saying they love it. It's nice. Don't get me wrong. If you can let your guard down and do the role play, it is very, very good. And yeah. But
it's good if
Hey, Betty Crocker, you walked into a whole hornet's nest.
A whole lot of stuff. But if you're going to role play, don't
dessert
Even though
background.
the element of surprise is good, not
With
too
you.
much surprise. You don't want to spring some weird shit on your partner that
No,
they're
but
not
like
ready
if
for.
you do like the schoolgirl and priest thing and shit like that,
Like dress up a certain way.
Oh no, I don't want to dress up. I can't dress
see,
up.
that's yes, you can.
Oh, definitely not gonna dress you like a priest. That's sacrilegious.
Ah, no.
We could do polka. My dad used to crack jokes about that. He'd be like, "Well, don't come. You have to know my parents. It was not a thing. They love each other, but this was not a thing." And he was like, "We're doing Pocahontas and John Smith tonight, so don't come." I'm like, yeah. And my mom was like, "He wouldn't know what to do."
And the thing is
but you think about my mom in a Pocahontas costume.
what are we doing this for? But it's amazing how in love your parents are because they're kind of opposites. Really,
They are.
They're totally
and that's
opposites.
one of the
with their-
things that when that kind of was not a part of their marriage anymore, they accepted it.
Yeah.
They
Wow.
just they anyway, I don't have to give all the details, but I've always said, like Sean's like, what if someday I'm not able to, whatever. And I'm like, my love for you, it's nice doing that, but that need is with you. So if we weren't, it wouldn't change. I wouldn't have to go out and find it because that need is based solely on you. And I know that doesn't make sense, but
Betty Crocker comes in and says, coming in to say good evening. And
I know, that's what I
then
said.
She says, I never role play, but no shame in my game with other stuff.
Lady Raiden loves being dominant in the workplace. I'm a gas station associate.
Yeah, who was?
Wow.
A gas station
Pocahontas,
associate.
yeah.
You also said you had to be a manager sometimes. I didn't get to say that, but yep. I mean, because you meet a lot of people when you're in a job like that, in a retail job. See, when I worked the retail job in Jacksonville, where I was getting the $5 blowjobs in the parking
With
lot.
Toothless
Apparently,
Desiree?
Well, no, Desiree was in a different state,
That
but
picture
it was
you
in
showed me?
Jacksonville, North Carolina, in a 24-hour place right on Western Boulevard. So if I work a third shift, when the strip clubs got out, all the strippers came in. All the cops,
Yes, Ricky, yes.
free coffee. So the cops would come in. All the EMTs would check in for the night. And then, so you got to see what was cracking in the nightlife if you worked a third shift in a marine town. It was pretty eventful.
I have heard that a lot of people that are in the military, especially if they're NCOs or officers higher up, when they come home, they like for you to tell them how it is. Like they like to come home, not even just sexually, but they like to come home and you are in control of the house. You tell them what to do, when to do it.
As part of it, like when we would come back from a deployment, we would be warned, like you've been away in Iraq for a year and a half. Don't you dare go home and start telling her how things are. They have been handling that house, those kids, the bills for 18 months. They got it. So don't go in with some power trip and start to take over and say how things are.
But I was
and
the
this and that.
opposite. When I was so when my ex got home, I was like, okay, you need to whoop his ass right now. He's being bad. And he was like, then they're just kind of like, it was a totally different. I was ready for him to come back and be exactly what he left
Exactly.
Exactly.
But a lot of, especially the combat arms guys are like, because
that's true.
Like the ones that had control issues and things like that. You can't do that. I mean, the military wives handled stuff.
Yeah.
They had to.
That's true for the most part. But anyway, I was ready for, and like he was not combat arms. But when he came back, I was ready for him to take back over being exactly, it just.
We love you too, Michaela. Lady Raiden says I worked first and seconds. I worked third and firsts. So I rarely worked a second. I was either coming in at 10 and have all the books and the deposit ready for the manager, or I was coming in at 5 and I was doing the deposit and this and that.
You said sometimes when you got off work real early in the morning, you'd go fishing and then go home and go to sleep.
Sometimes. Like my drill was...
You could never do that with me. You'd be like...
Yeah. It's a completely... first of all, I tried working thirds. It really didn't work good for us.
No. It was during COVID. I couldn't sleep.
Yeah. I was an executive that traveled 26 days a month. Wow. When I got home, I didn't want any responsibilities at home. I just wanted to clean and cook.
That makes
my
sense.
ex ended up stealing about $500,000. I was too trusting.
Yeah.
Wow.
You had told me something the other day. You said apparently Moxie went through a pretty sticky divorce, and I didn't want to ask any questions about it when you were kind of touching on the whole thing live today with Paula, because I didn't hear it. You didn't, but Yeah, I now that makes sense because you said there was sticky. You're not sure what happened, but it was a sticky divorce. That's what you said about
Mine?
Moxie.
Oh,
No,
Moxie.
yours
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
beyond
yeah.
sticky.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yours
No,
was a whole fly
that's
trap.
right. Yes,
But
that's right. I don't know Moxie that well, but you know, she gives us bits and pieces.
thank you.
Misty Lee said, I agree with Sean. I got used to running my lane and never liked when you came home and tried to lead again. It is an adjustment, and especially when, you know, you're with, you know, a soldier or something and he goes away, and it might be 12 months, it might be 18 months. You're not really quite sure. And, you know, you're getting the kids going to school, you're keeping the house, you're doing all that. You're worried about your soldiers. And then, you know, you got it. You figure out your plan and your
Yeah.
flow. And when he comes home, you know, and there's two things. First of all, he doesn't need to come home like a bull in a china shop. But the other thing is let him decompress.
Yeah.
You know, and this and that.
That was when the war first, like in that period that you were there, they called it the Wild West, and it was every bit as bad as we heard it was over there. And then they came home, and they had started putting programs in place that helped. Now my understanding, when people come back from a deployment, or when they did in subsequent years in Iraq, they actually went to about a week or two of a debriefing thing stateside before they went home, and that's where they evaluated if they had PTSD, all of those different things.
See, they didn't do that with us, but it was different. It was
no, but they didn't with him either. But he wasn't in combat arms, so it's different. But
what they did in 2003 till about 2005. Then they had to change it because there was a lot of stuff. It was a powder keg, you know. You come home, you land on the plane, and you go home that night, and you know, they're not ready. Lady Raiden.
Karen and I talked about a little bit about that last night. Sean had wanted to know what he did. I was like, Karen, were you both bailiffs at the courthouse? Is that how you met? And she was like, Mandy, what are you talking about? She didn't say that, but she might as well have. She goes, no, we met at a bank. I was like,
Lady Raiden says, thank you for being kind and not judging me. I get called a loser and get accused of making bad life decisions. Look, we don't judge anybody in here, because Mandy and I will both freely admit a lot of our life decisions were we wouldn't have any room to.
One of them he finally got out from under, but she's still.
Yeah.
You said it best the other day when you said, at this point, the situation with her is a YouTube beef.
It is a YouTube beef.
And he's right. He's like, I have no legal obligation, connection. Nobody, as far as paperwork goes, really.
Right.
No kids together. No.
Some people say, how can they sit there and talk about an ex? But there's people that talk with their exes all the time on YouTube, and have beef with them. That's what this is. You can visit whatever channel, you know, DC Media and Negs, they're beefing with people, and Randy and Wendy will be talking and beefing with people. That's all this is at this point.
Yeah.
You know, in a year and a half, it'll be half a decade
night,
ago.
Mama Ricky. Have a good night. Moxie is at a bank. That's what I was like, I had no idea. I, for whatever reason, thought, because I was like, I don't think that Karen was a bailiff, but I think that he must have been.
And I didn't have any idea.
And I was
I'm like, I don't know.
Then I was like, why is he still working? I don't know. And then she explained what he did. And I'm not going to say it, but it's pretty freaking fascinating what he did.
Pretty cool.
And, hey, Trash Panda, I know I already said hi, but I didn't see you talking for a while. But yeah, so that was like, sometimes I'll say things to Karen and she's like, no, that's not how that happened. Like, I misremembered it or whatever. But once our texts start going in the morning with the group thread with me, Karen, and Loretta, it gets hilarious. Especially if someone goes hysterically histrionic in the middle of the night about a celebrity that she probably's never watched one skit that they did.
Trash Panda said I was tied up. Well, we were talking about that too.
Okay. So she was a bailiff, a judicial assistant, and a court recorder.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you imagine Karen being a bailiff?
I was just thinking that.
Speaking of sexy, did y'all, so you came home in your little like deputy outfit or whatever?
She'd come walking in and she goes, let me change. And he'd be like, no, don't change.
I used to work with this lady. I was telling Sean about this the other night. Used to enlisted and officers could get married if they were active duty and they liked each other or whatever. Now they can't. And unless they were grandfathered in, and all of those are gone now. Mm-hmm. It happened in the late 90s. They changed the things. But I worked with a nurse at the National Guard base who was a retired major. She had been a nurse in the Air Force, and her husband had been enlisted, and he was a flight mechanic in in the Air Force, and he was enlisted, and I was like, did you, she goes, he looked pretty sexy when I'd walk into the hangar or whatever, and I was like, did you like do the whole, like, tell me y'all, and she was like, no, and I was like, did y'all go find it? And she was like, maybe once or twice. They had like 6 kids together, had been married forever.
We know it was at least 6 times.
But she was just like I do, she was blushing. It's easier for me to call someone out for their kinkiness than it is for me to talk about it. I don't know why.
I mean, I can talk a big game, but Mandy's right. You know, she'll pull a number on me, and I'll be like, "Are you serious?" Yeah, let's just go right in there. And I'm like, I'm looking around.
And then sometimes I'll joking around, like he'll be like half asleep, and I'm like, so, and he'll be like, if you want to, and I'm really just joking. And I go back to what I'm doing. And the next day he comes home from work, and he's like, it occurred to me yesterday that you were trying. I was like, I wasn't really trying.
No, if I had wanted to, there'd be no doubt in your mind.
Andy says, I became a police officer when I was 21. That uniform saw more action than an 18-year-old infantryman.
What?
Yeah, police officers, man, y'all have a whole host of women that my brother's been married to a lot of them.
Yeah, that's right. And a couple that he wasn't.
And then had kids with a couple that he subsequently married, but he had to tell the other wife.
The thing about pre 9/11, and for my experience, it was Fort Knox. When all the posts were open, you know, they don't have any open posts in the country anymore. But it used to be Fort Knox had a freeway running straight through
Panda.
it. As did Fort Riley. Fort Riley had that main drag right through it. So there was a club at Fort Knox. So when we were all in school there, the hotel that we all stayed in, it was like a military hotel. So you had class, probably about 200 or 300 soldiers living there while they were going to class. The club was in the basement of that place. So it catered to, you know, the women that would come there loved men in uniform. They loved soldiers. That's why they came to that particular club.
You've got your women who love men in uniform, soldiers or police. It's one or the other.
Yeah, so imagine if you really dig guys in uniform, and there was a club in the basement of a hotel that was full of soldiers. So, and then if you hooked up, you didn't have to go anywhere. You just went up there, you know.
I'd have to be like, is there a babysitter for my kids? I'll come, but I need a babysitter.
I know, right?
No, I'm just kidding. No, it's true though, and it's a whole.
And for me, it'd be like, is your wife going to get mad? No, she's out with somebody too. Come on, you know.
But the Beast had a thing for cops.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I always liked well, that's why I married at 18 to someone. I mean, a lot of them like either soldiers in uniform or police in uniform. Some are both. But yeah, let me tell you something. Police, and I'm not saying they all do, obviously, but I know a lot of police officers that have their wife, their bottom bitch, they've had a baby with somebody else, and they're still married to their wife, and they somehow like have visitation. Yeah. Lots and lots and lots of people I've known that's happened, and with police officers, the wives seem to be stubbornly loyal, for whatever reason.
It's almost like a little bit of a mafia thing, because
it really is.
You know, because if you ever look at organized crime and you know the movies would portray it, you know they've all had girlfriends.
Yep.
They all had girlfriends, and the wives kind of begrudgingly knew it.
Yep.
You know,
it's crazy.
But there was a certain thing about, you know, the wife was like, all right, now he's banging you, but I'm the queen. I'm the wife.
Andy.
You know?
Andy's had his laps around the track. For him being, like it says, we had the same thing in a hotel in town. The sheets felt like you were sleeping on burnt toast.
Oh my God.
He's so unassuming when you like meet him. He's very
he's
straight-laced.
He is
funny.
Andy's a guy that
this is a
he never had a drink. He's never smoked anything. He's the soberest dude you're ever going to meet. But you know he's also done some very, very cool stuff. He's you know, I'm gonna put it out there, Andy. You can tell me not too later, but the guy plays poker and he's done it professionally for a number of years.
I want to see you play poker.
Yeah.
I told you. I tried to get y'all to do it there because I said it was sexy as fuck.
We couldn't. I don't know, Andy. We could never get that going. I think we were too competitive of a family, you know, to do the poker.
Is that why?
Yeah. I mean, there's
Did y'all play with money?
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the problem.
Well, we don't play
Why
for
don't you-
hundreds of thousands of dollars, like,
Yeah.
the professional
I don't
tour,
even
but-
understand how poker works, but I think it's hot
Yeah.
when men play it. Mainly you.
But among other things,
See,
Andy
Amanda?
has played on the poker circuit and has done fairly well on
Yeah.
it too. He just, so there's that. But I didn't
I'm
dox
watching-
too much of it.
I'm watching Moxie and Trash Panda's conversation. I'm not reading it out loud because it's too involved, but it's pretty cool. Police and people in uniform in general tend to flirt with cashiers. I could see that.
Yeah.
I tell you, there was no flirting at all when they pulled me over the other day.
There wasn't?
I would never try to flirt to get out of a ticket, but whatever. I mean, there was no question all this dude was giving me a ticket. But the thing is, too, I think he was in training.
Was he?
Because
Does he look like he was
he gave me
12?
the spill and he was very nervous. And then another guy pulled up. He said, "I'm Deputy so-and-so."
Well, you said it was Dawson County too, right?
Yeah,
So
I
probably
think
know
that
him.
he was still like brand new and that he was being overseen by that guy.
Gotcha.
And there was never a question. I was getting a ticket. And all that tough talk I did, Karen, all of y'all, where I was going to go to court and I was going to say this and I was going to say that and I was going to film this and I was going to film that. I just paid the ticket.
I know.
I just paid the ticket.
I did,
it was
and
when I
wasn't
found out it
sure.
was only $120, which is a lot.
And
Don't get me wrong.
Not one time did I ever say, Mandy, you're not going to court. Did I?
Well, I
Never.
filmed what went on one day, and it was a good thing, and it showed. And Karen goes, "The only problem with that is that you were driving when you filmed it."
Yeah.
You guys, I don't normally do that. Don't school me on it.
Yeah, he's like-
I've been corrected. I get it.
How many tickets did you get? How many tickets have you gotten before we met?
One in high school.
And how many have you gotten since
Two.
we've been together?
One going home after our first hookup. I got one.
I mean, your brains were a little scrambled.
My
for that
brains
one,
were. I was going like down the toll road, going 90 miles an hour, trying to get home. Probably crying too.
Did you?
I sobbed all day when you left the first time. I'm sure I looked like a mess. Anyways,
I'm gonna get some water.
okay. Let me see a couple of Aston Martins sniffing around. What are Aston Martins? I'm confused. That's a car, right? Is that? Oh, wait. I saw Moxie said something about that. I absolutely value myself, although I go through a bit of got engaged several times. I saw her saying, I call him Mr. Aston Martin. Oh, because that's what he drives. That's pretty cool. And then y'all call, okay, I am caught up. Okay, you know what, Lady Raiden? The store that I stop by when I get my tea, and I stop by and get Sawyer a meat stick, there's a sign that says, if our cashiers ask you for a tip, let me know. But Sean says when he worked at the convenience store, there was a few people that if they want enough money, they always tipped him. So I don't know how that, like, is that wrong or right or what? But he said they would too. A lot of them would tip him.
I had a lady.
I buy my husband fly shirts for work, and he actually got out of a ticket because his shirt was so cool. True story. A British car. So that's the thing too, is, we're back the blue the whole way or whatever, and it's certainly not to get out of tickets, but we have a sticker that's the shape of Texas with the blue line through it.
Yeah.
And I didn't think of it till afterwards because I never thought I'd get another speeding ticket. But going down that damn highway, you'll get. Anyways.
So one
None of that
time,
worked.
my story, I was listening. When I worked in a convenience store, we had this lady that would come in, and she was an Asian lady, and she had been married to a colonel.
Thank you, Trash.
And had some kids with him. So she worked at a cafeteria on post. So between that money and all the baby daddy money she was getting from this guy, she was loaded. And she would come in and play. She might come in and play scratch off. She might play $500-$600.
Wow.
And just keep playing. And every time she won, she would toss us a tip.
Like how much?
$5.
Oh, that's
So, she might come in and play scratch off for an hour, and when she left, we may have $30.
Oh,
cashier
I
might have
see.
30.
She
So
said that you can.
We loved when she came in. I mean, it's like people will be like, "Can I pay for my beer?" Hold on a second. We're doing scratch offs over here. But the other story is when I was on my way. I don't know if Andy's still in here, but Andy, when our grandmother died, I flew in. It was just after New Year's or right around the New Year's when she passed. And I flew in for the funeral, and I had to be Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, like 48 hours after her funeral. So I got on this plane and I flew back to Fort Knox, where I was with Jessica, and the kids were there. And I loaded my car up and I took off to start driving to Fort Leavenworth. And I'm flying through Indiana on the freeway. It was about 2 a.m. and I got blue lighted. And I had to have been going about 90 miles an hour. And I was like, oh my gosh. And, so this, cop pulls me over, and, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're running that fast. It's a little bit shady.
Yeah.
So he's coming up and he's real cautious and this and that. And you can tell he's a little bit irritated, and he gets up to my car and he shines the light into the car, and he sees my uniforms hanging up in the back seat. And he says, what's that? I said, well, I told him the story. I have to be to Fort Leavenworth by noon, and yada, yada, yada. And he looked at the uniform and he said, slow it down. You're going too fast. And he walked off. And it was because I was in uniform. So anyway, there's that story. Let's see.
I get a ponytail holder. I'm over the hair on my neck.
You are?
Yeah, it's driving me crazy.
So I don't know what Moxie was talking about. But but in the middle of it, she says, actually, he collects Astons.
It's the gentleman that she calls him Mr. Aston Martin, because I guess that's like
Aston Martin's the car,
right? One of the guys that's interested in her.
Okay,
but she says that she's so busy.
He's one of the few men that enjoy watching 1930s and 40s movies and loves astronomy too.
Oh,
we have a ton of fun. Moxie, you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
It's probably hard for her to trust someone again. I'm going to open your door in a second, Scout. I promise. I closed it because Sawyer was once again going to go eat your cat food.
So Amanda says, I live in Indiana. So what's that? What's the freeway that goes? Is it 70? It might be 70 or something like that runs east to west. And I was in Kentucky and going all the way across Indiana and into Missouri and then into Kansas.
He's, Mr. Geography. He remembers everywhere.
I can't remember I think it's 70 or 77 or something like that.
Is Let It Go still in here, or someone who has watched Katie fairly closely? I wanted to know, does she still have her truck? That truck that she bought, does she still have it? Because she was talking about today she needed a better car. And I was like, I thought she bought a truck.
Who bought a truck?
Katie. From one of those buy here, pay here places, I think. I was just curious what happened to it.
We need to. How long do you think Katie keeps her channel?
MFW Trash Panda. If you're relatively new to the thing,
I'm just wondering. I mean,
her thing is just getting PayPal's. Like
she's trying to bank as much as she can until they take her channel, because they're gonna take it. She's not supposed to be on YouTube.
But I was just curious because I remember she actually was like semi buddies with the guy that she bought the truck from, and he owned the lot, and his wife had actually wanted the truck, and she convinced him to sell it to her. And then my understanding is she didn't. Yes, she is Lady Raiden badly, morning, noon, and night. She has to. It appears that she's absolutely, completely chemically addicted to it.
I think I'm a little bit. I'm south, so Fort Knox is like. Louisville is right near Cincinnati, right on the Ohio River, kind of. So, I might have gone up, but I don't remember.
Lady Raiden, she's having to start in the morning. She has the shakes, and she has to start drinking. She's pretty open about it.
And I asked Mandy, I said, so did she ever stop drinking? And Mandy was
did.
like, yes, she did. She went through the detox and all that when she was on probation.
Then thought she could control it, so she went back to it. That's the lie of the disease.
She's not on her rock bottom. So
I heard that she was doing coke too. I believe that she did start doing that with Steven. But I don't know how much. That's an expensive habit. You got to be making a lot of money to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From what I understand, people lose $1 million businesses up their nose when they do that. But
Moxie says it's very hard to trust, Mandy. I literally freaked out when Mr. A started telling me about this investment he fell for in the Philippines and lost $300,000. It sounded scammy. Yeah, it sounds like he got scammed.
I bet. And just in general, you think, well, why are you after me?
Well, I mean, what
What is your true?
Yeah, but or also he just felt
You're
like
not my own
that he wanted to tell her about the investment.
Very infrequent. Well,
Like
see,
what?
Moxie. I mean, Moxie is very classy. She probably doesn't do booty calls.
Yeah, that's
I don't think. I mean, I don't know if she does or not. Just most women that do it don't talk about it, or don't go buy produce. You know what I mean?
ours was a long planned out booty call that ended up.
I have to say, Lady Raiden, she was really shitty to me the way our friendship ended. It's sad, but moreover, it's very sobering to see what happens when you decide that you know the best way, you can do it, everybody else can F off, you got this. And to watch what's happened, it's really sad.
And then when she got her channel back, like she was
It's not really back, but
it's not back, but she went through what she went through, and you were like, that's her rock bottom. She lost almost everything. One of her boyfriends passed away, and that's not because of her actions, but that's adds on to it. You know, that's awful. And so she climbs back onto the scene with Real Stream News. That's, you know, the lowest of the low. And then when she figured out that she could create another channel, she's back, and she's got to know that it's temporary.
she does. She goes, if this one gets shut down, I'll go to another one. I mean,
Yeah.
she's
But when she was when she was on the other night, she was talking like was on top of the world, and she's smarter than everybody else, and that's why she's great on YouTube. And it's like, girl,
you lost everything.
you lost 40-some thousand subs and lost a channel, and it's sad.
Oh, see, Moxie likes the interaction, not a booty call per se, but an intellectual, humorous man. I gotcha.
The company, you know, conversation and good company.
By the way, yeah, talk about. Okay, so that's some Dr. Phil stuff. When these ladies, they by the way was saying they think that they're falling in love with a British contractor or whatever,
Yep.
and these are smart, intelligent women, and they end up giving away everything, and then it turns out it's a call center in Nigeria. And then when Dr. Phil
Yep.
shows the emails and texts and things, you looking at it as an outside party, you can tell that English is the second language to this person. Like, you can tell that person's first language isn't English. But when you want to believe it,
Yeah.
they want to believe it so desperately.
And it can be a little scam. Like when Mandi and I were looking for our own place, we went to a house that it looked empty, and we were like, we could do this, and it had its own little property where we could have chickens and all that. And all we did was answer an ad and look around. When we got back in touch with the person, they were trying to tell us that we needed to send an application fee so that we could go forward.
And then they would give us the code to get into the house.
They give us the code, and they wanted like $75. It wasn't a lot of money, but you could tell by the way they were typing the words in that English wasn't their main language. And I kept trying to say back to them, no, that's not. I mean, we don't know.
Right.
What $75 is. I said, it's not how it works.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you any money unless I can get it. And
we
then
researched a little bit. These people look through the ads online and find houses that are vacant that have lock boxes on
Yep.
it. And they kind of mirror what they say.
Put the pictures up and get you to call that number if you like it. And then they just try to get $100 from each, you know, if they can do it from 15 different people, they've made, you know, $1,500.
Exactly.
Yep.
You're right. Intelligence and humor. That is one of the things that the humor I didn't know how funny was, but definitely the intelligence. That was something that I always was fond of with Sean, is that you were intelligent. He was well-spoken. It was intriguing. But I didn't know you were funny.
What else
We
did
literally
you,
stopped.
What else did you do?
We literally laughed most of the
Yeah,
time.
most of the time.
Yeah, because I can be witty, but it takes me a second to come up with it. Sean is like that. He can come up with something witty to say very quickly.
I think about at least once a week,
Dragonfly.
at least one time a week. I look over at her and I'm like, I cannot believe that I'm married to her. And it's like, and sometimes I think of it as a context of YouTube, like that's Mrs. ATX, you know, and I think of all the fuckery that's, you know, been on YouTube. And sometimes it's Mandi, and, you know, whatever it is, it's like, and it's once a week. Maybe she's sleeping, or I'm kissing her goodbye before I go to work or something like that. Maybe it's when we're driving in the car and she's like excitedly telling me about everything that's, you know, going on. Sometimes we're walking through the grocery store, but once a week, sometimes more. I'm just like, I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm with her. I can't believe I'm married to her. So
That's so cool. That's awesome. We it was fast and furious.
it was.
We were talking about that today. I was talking about someone who it appears what they're doing is like trying to lash onto these men like on a first or second date, going, I love you, I want to be, and I was like, only we can do that. Because it was literally like, what, 5 days?
I know, we give false hope to so many people. We could be like, but you guys did it. I know, but that's not a very good example.
Black
you know?
Dragonfly says she keeps a pair of her late husband's boots on the front porch.
Wow.
And it sounds like she does it partly because it was her husband's, but also they think that there's a man living there.
Wow. I mean,
Is that true? Is that what I'm gathering?
I saw some of your comments about learning to live alone and learning to appreciate your solidarity and all that. And I have an incredible amount of respect for that, because I absolutely, positively,
wow, by the way,
wouldn't know what to do without if Mandi was taken from me. I just don't know. It's
Karen says, my hubby said this one thing that has stayed with me, that sex is amazing, but companionship is forever. He was never married before he met me. That's the truth.
nice.
That's why I was trying to say earlier, if that goes away for whatever reason, I mean, you never know. Things happen. You have to take medications that you start taking so that your heart keeps working, and those make it where you can't. There's still so much more to it than I would be fine. You know what I mean? Like, I still wouldn't need cucumbers and zucchinis and shit like that. I mean, I'm serious. Like, there's couples that can be every bit as intimate, even more so, without doing that actual act.
Paula's like, oh my God, 5 days. And yeah, you know, it's
5 days.
I mean, somebody that you know on the YouTube, right? And you've been kind of friends with them and not ever crossed over, you know, or, you know, did anything. And then one night, you know, Mandi was just like, boom, we've showed the texts, and I was dumb. I was a little aloof. I was still typing away, and I was like, wait, I do believe.
And if he didn't bite, when I said, what would you do if I was in that car? If he had been like, oh, wow, you know, we're not going to go there. I'd be like, okay. I mean, it would have hurt, but that would have changed the entire course of things.
I
might not have been brave enough to do it.
Can we revisit when you backed off for a second?
Yeah.
So we were talking and you know, back and forth, and then it was for about 3 days. And then I think it was a Monday, or was it a Friday? It was either the beginning of the week or the end of the week. I just get this text one morning, and she's like, hey, you know, I got to back off, you know. And she gave me these reasons and this and that, and, you know, we'll still be friends and this and that. And even though I was like, damn, I got it. I understood it. You know, I was like, that's cool. You know, it was, you know, we always have this little secret thing that we did, right?
Mm-hmm. We hadn't met in person yet.
We hadn't met in person. It was no harm, no foul. We didn't meet each other and do anything physical. We just had a couple days of really flirtatious texts. That's it. And, you know, friends, I'll be around. She said,
it was 8 hours later.
3 hours later.
Was it 3 hours? I thought it was 8 hours.
3 hours later. And I still hadn't talked to her. That was the thing. It was just all on text. She says, he just texted me, and she says...
No, we had talked once.
Yeah, that's true. And she says, and she asked me something, you know, like making fun of Trisha and about her, like, washing machine. And I said, I
didn't know if you remembered what it was about.
And I just kind of blew it off. I was like, yeah, whatever. You know, I got something to do. She could probably figure it out. And then Mandi was like, oh, so she's like, can I call you? And then
I said, somehow I think it's
none of my business anymore, and I don't like that. And I said, oh, okay. And then she says, can I call you? And I was like, yes. And I went, got her.
And I broke it down
reeling her in like a trout.
I was like, here's the thing. My situation is, you know what I mean? But I was like, but, whatever. And I said, and then he goes, okay. And I said, and I really like you. That's what's scary is, and then he goes, well, I mean, nobody really knows what the future holds. I said, well, then you can come to Texas.
She said, you can come to Texas if you wanted. If we want to just back off of everything and you just come to Texas and we hook up, we can do that.
Which is not like me, obviously.
And I didn't know that, but I was like, yeah. And then it was like, I was like, okay.
And then it was 2 days later when
and then I think within like the next day, I just sent her my flight, my itinerary. And she goes, okay, well, I'll plan this out and I'll get the time and blah, blah, blah. And that's what happened, so, and that's why when people say things like, Mandy's a home wrecker, it'd be me.
Yeah.
I'm the home wrecker. I'm the one who flew to Texas, met her, paid for a hotel. And yes, she did come to the hotel, but it was all me that set it all up. And she even said something like, I was still a little aloof, and she goes, well, I'm not paying for the hotel. And I was like, oh, no, I got that.
I don't remember saying that.
Yeah, you said, I'm not paying for the hotel.
He said, no, you just find it. And I was like, okay. And I was looking for one that wasn't straight on the way to where anybody would see it. So,
and most of them were,
that doesn't make it right what we did, but it does make it a lot of fun.
So all the people that don't like us, you can take these sound bites and go. But
that was
Moxie was like a trout.
Yeah.
It was. When she said to me, when she backed it off, I was like I said, I was disappointed, but I'm a grown man. I get it. She's got a whole life.
But tell them about when you would talk to me on the bench at your parents' house.
Oh yeah. So
it's the only place with signal.
The only place I had a good signal, because my parents' house is kind of like down in a little ditch in a valley. But they have a little park area that's on the side yard. So I go there and there's a little bench and I would talk to her there. See, now all through my relationship with Trisha, whenever I was at home and we were broken up and this and that, they knew I was getting reeled back in because I'd get back out there and start talking on that phone. And then I'd go, I'm going back to North Carolina. So this time, no different. My parents would look out there and I'm back there.
And you left at dinner to talk to me.
Yeah, it was before dinner. It was before dinner.
But that was when we confirmed that.
And so they were like, oh no, not again. So, I come back in and they're kind of, quiet. And I said, what? And they were like, you're out there on the phone again. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's just, you're going to go back to me. I said, no, this is my friend. She's from Texas.
You said her name is Mandi and
she's coming. Her name is Mandi. And no, I was going.
Yeah, that was before you came the first time.
And I was like, her name is Mandi, and I think I'm going to go to Texas for a couple days and see her. And they were like, oh my God, yes. They were like, it's not her, it's yes. So, and I said before, my mother in normal circumstances would say, you're getting out of this, marriage, you're getting divorced. You need to not be in a relationship for a year. But in this case, they were just sort of thrilled.
Then when you got back and I was coming for 4th of July weekend and you told your mom, you said, are you going to be around the 4th of July weekend? She said, well, I have plans, and you said, well, Mandy's coming. I thought you might want, and she goes, yep. And she changed her plans.
My mother changed all of her plans. And if you know my mom, she's in Florida. She's in Florida with friends right now.
That is going to
at 76 years old, she'll plan a trip to Florida with her friends,
I know, we're going.
Or, she plays tennis 2 or 3 times a week. She's in all kinds of book clubs. Altrusa, all kinds of things. So for her to say, I'm going to shut all my plans down to be here, that was a big deal. Yeah. But, when she said, again, when she was like, I was kind of melancholy that day when Mandi backed it off and says, I don't want to lead you down the road and this and that, blah, blah, blah. But when she said, can we talk? Can I call you? You're right, Moxie. I was like, and I'm just working that lure,
and I didn't know
that lure.
I didn't know he was that because you saw him. I didn't think he ever thought about sex. I didn't think he was interested in anything.
Cast it out there, and she's like, "Can I call you?" I went.
I was like, "That's
got her. Oh, no. I got her."
See, that was telling us that we got.
I got her.
He did get me. Apparently, my understanding is.
Oh, she says, I remember the bench story. They were thrilled.
And we have to put like a thing on it. Kids, do not try this at home. Because sometimes
Yeah.
you might end up with a psychopath. You might end up with it.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. No, you know when you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know when
Yep.
you know. But we do need to go. And everybody pray, because I'm going to activate these phones.
Yeah.
I have to, because I got to send the trade-in back. And so I'm going to get them working.
You gonna do it tonight?
I have to. But you need to make sure you know your password.
I don't know them.
But we figured it out last time. I'm a trusted source. So this time when it says, where do you want your temporary code sent, it'll say Mandy's iPhone.
Okay.
Because one time it said the Beast, way back when, was the trusted source. And I was like, well, now we know how.
Oh my God. Hook, line. They're like hook, line,
I know.
and sinker.
I can't
Right
deny
on.
it. I was like, yeah,
Like,
20-something
woohoo.
years. No, I was like,
She walks
you can
straight
have
out
the
door.
house. You can take all
But-
of that. I'm just going.
But the
I gotta
next
go.
time, when you guys, if you guys want to have our backs, next time someone says Mandy ATX is a home wrecker, you just say no. It would be Sean.
Yeah, Sean's
Sean's the home.
And when I get accused of taking sloppy seconds all day, every day,
Yeah.
the sloppier the better. But anyway, you ready to go?
Yeah, we
Thank
got
you
this.
guys for the fantastic conversation. I hope that shed some light on that line. Ho. I might be
I might be a Mandy
No,
withdrawal, so I don't hear
I'm
from
gonna
you.
get it working today.
Yeah.
We have
All I got to do is figure out the passwords, and then I'm going to bed.
Paula takes the night shift. She covers the Paula and Moxie take the midnight on. Hey Presley, that she was listening. And then I cover the 10 to, I always say that she
like
covers the fuckery from 10 to 4 in the morning, and I take over after me
You
and
guys
Karen
got
got it
all
after
covered.
that. And Karen's right in the middle because she's 3 hours earlier. So she
Yeah,
covers
but she's got it covered in between like canning beans.
Yeah,
and
see, thank you for
and-
that. Of
and-
course,
and-
we got it covered.
pickling, sauerkraut or whatever it is
I
that she's
know.
got going on that day.
Stitching apparently knows about arthritis. We need to.
Yeah, we got it.
She knows the new cows, and she knows the.
During the end days, guys, we got a group of people. We'll have our own little society because everybody knows a little bit about something. So
Yeah. We'll talk to you guys.